Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome guests and colleagues. I would like to call this meeting of the St. Louis Development Corporation Board of Directors to order. David, can we get a roll call?
Director Arnold,
Present.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Here.
Director Gilbert,
Here.
Director Koenig,
Present.
Director McBride,
Present.
Alderwoman Saunier,
Present.
Director Spencer,
Present.
Director Young,
Present.
Chairman Davis.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Okay, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the June 18th, 2026 regular board meeting. Do we have any corrections or additions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Can we get a roll call vote? Yeah.
Director Arnold,
Yes. Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Aye.
Director Gilbert,
Aye.
Director Koenig,
Aye.
Director McBride,
Aye.
Alderwoman Saunier,
Aye.
Director Spencer,
Abstain.
Director Young,
Aye.
Chairman Davis.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, we'll move on to agenda item number 3, resolution number 26 SLDC 1086, approving and authorizing St. Louis Development Corporation to allocate up to $9 million of new market tax credits for the Chemline Incorporated project. And to present this resolution, I will turn it over to SVP of New Markets, Bill Seddon.
Thank you, Chair Davis, and it's my great honor this morning to present two resolutions on behalf of two awesome St. Louis companies. Chemline is a manufacturer that we're seeking authorization to suballocate up to $9 million of new market tax credits to. They are a manufacturer of specialized industrial coatings, polyurethane, and foams that are used by industrial customers throughout the country. They are located at 5151 Natural Bridge Avenue in the Mark Twain industrial neighborhood of the city's 12th ward. And I have been by their campus. I've toured their facility, and they basically have property that runs roughly from Union to Kings Highway on the north side of Natural Bridge. It's a very impressive campus with parking lots and buildings, and they've really added on to the company that was started, over 30 years ago. So they have done a great job in growing the business and stabilizing the neighborhood over there. This current project projects to spend $60 million in new spend for modernizing equipment and basically modernizing facilities and adding, a manufacturing equipment. And this is not just a great expansion project. It's really an important retention project. I mean, this company didn't have to stay there, and they chose to grow there because, they've got a very solid workforce. They've got 120 existing employees. I think this will add 50 jobs as they project over the next few years. So, they're a great anchor in the neighborhood. They have helped tornado victims. I don't think they were specifically impacted by the tornado, but they've really, flexed their muscles to help neighbors that were impacted. They have been a great supporter of City Academy, and they've got a strong philanthropic arm that goes out and makes sure that folks are, being helped and in good shape. So, besides helping manufacturers, I mean, it's great for the tax base, preserves jobs, but, we have been focused on manufacturing, and we did a neighbor, if you remember, Atlas Iron Works, which basically backs right up to Chemline, several months ago. We also have invested in module building systems as well as H&H Metals. So we feel like manufacturing is a really strong sector for us to pursue. So this allocation of ours, this $9 million, will pair with the Justine Peterson allocation, which is also 9 million. And there's one investor taking on both allocations. That's Dudley Ventures, who we have worked with in the last couple of years, and they have been really focused in on manufacturing as well. So anyway, let me invite Tony Rendon, who's the Chief Operating Officer of Chemline, who is here. And he is much more eloquent and can provide more context to this this conversation. Tony, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for the time this morning. This project, what it does, it's basically when I started, we were about 100 people. And I started last July, and the owner has a vision to expand and to try to grow the business up to $200 million over the next 5 years. And I know that's aggressive, and it sounds like a hockey stick, but he's made a couple small acquisitions. And what we're doing is he started this business 28 years ago in his garage, and he's grown it to 100 million. But we've got very old technology. He started off with used equipment 28 years ago, and you can't grow with what we have. And where the current buildings, even though he's bought all the buildings on the block and pieced them together, we purchased another building on Farland, which we're going to put half the manufacturing into. But it's not an easy building to do. It would have been a lot easier for us just to buy another building in a different state. But we ended up having to raise the roof. We've got to put on a warehouse. We have to redo all the docks, et cetera, bring in power. So what we're doing is we're actually upgrading to the latest technology, 5 different processes, and we're putting in new processes to put in backward integrate into polyesters and into a different technology called reactive hot melts. Altogether, my estimate is we'll add about 57 jobs. And of those jobs, 37 will be non-degree and 20 will be degreed jobs. Now, we've already hired about 5 or 6 more salespeople in the last 3 months. So we're already up 22% this year in sales. Part of that is because of inflation, of course, raising prices. But overall, it's a good project. It's going to make it state of the art. And one of the things we're doing, we're putting in enough capacity so we can almost operate on 1 to 2 shifts, because we do believe that someone will try to end up trying to buy us in the next 5 to 10 years. And we want to have enough capacity so that whoever comes in won't want to come in and move the business to another state, like a BASF or a Dow or a Huntsman or a Covestro, but they'll see state-of-the-art technology and they'll move their business to us rather than move our business to them. I've been building plants. I'm 70 years old. I've been building plants for a long time. And we're putting the absolute best of the best into this facility. And whoever comes in, they're going to find a completely automated process with new equipment, and they'll be envious of what we have. And I truly believe the jobs will remain here for another 50 years. So the owner, John Pantanello, is a very good man. He originated from Boston, but he considers himself a St. Louis person right now. He's very loyal to the community. And we have this in our presentation, but he gives about 10 to 12 different charities a year, ranging about $300,000 a year. And whenever anybody needs anything, he's there to help. So I do believe we're good stewards, of the community. We have a loyal workforce, and we're expanding. We never were in debt before. When I came here, we never had to borrow money, but we're doing this in a big way. And again, I'll be honest with you, I was courted by 4 different states to move there, but John wanted to stay here. And he's even though I'm from New York, so I'm a Yankee fan, and he's a Boston fan, but together we both go to the St. Louis games. So whatever you can do to help us, we'd appreciate it. And that's the project. So we'd love to have anybody who's got any interest to visit us. We'll have a grand opening when we're done. We're going to try to finish the project up by next April or May. And at that point in time, we'll be hiring second shifts. We're hiring more technical people, and that's about the extent of the project. But I'm open to any questions you might have.
Thank you for the overview, Tony, and thank you for your commitment to St. Louis and choosing to stay in place, invest in the facility, and create 57 jobs, especially the 37 non-degree. That's huge for our community, and appreciate everything else that ChemOn does for the community. Do we have any questions from the board for ChemOn or Bill?
What products are we making at the facility, Tony?
Okay, good question. We're making 4 different types of products, basically. We're making polyureas and polyurethanes. These are for coatings. They coat the outside of pipes, the inside of pipes for like 4-foot diameter, 6-foot diameter pipes for potable water, non-potable fluids, coating of outside bulk tanks, the inside of bulk tanks, coatings for the dikes for where you have bulk tanks on concrete to make them impervious. We're making all types of foams, structural foams, architectural foams for your homes. The foams that you'll see like in Disney, all those big caricatures, they're foam and they're sprayed with a urethane over the top of them to make them look real. The beds, corrosion protection for large trucks, the trucks of dump trucks, and for abrasion and corrosion control. Secondary containments, as I said. We're also making casted products like the casted urethanes for forklift tires and rollerblade tires and things of that nature. Let me see what else I got here. Wood protection. Like you all have, well, maybe not anymore, but the speakers that you buy for your stereo systems. That's all wood, and that's all coated with our urethane products. So we're dealing with the major suppliers of speakers. Bridge deck coatings. And the new business that we're going into, which is going to create about $20 million of extra business, is the backing of spas. So spas are very thin acrylic, and we spray our material on the back of them to reinforce it. And we think we're going to pick up about $20 million of business over the next 2 years with our technology. We're also making reactive hot melts, which primarily go into RVs. They glue the sidewalls of the RV, the Luan to the FRP sidewalls. That gives you a rough idea of the type of products that we're making.
It does. Thank you. And then how are you anticipating that this will be scalable into the future? I'm glad you're looking into the future and glad you're looking at a potential exit with the outcome remaining here in St. Louis. I'm trying to, without understanding exactly what your process is there, how that scales up.
Yeah, we're putting in 7 different mezzanines, and each mezzanine will have anywhere from 6 to 30 different reactors on them. We're buying 45 reactors and 30 bulk tanks on top of what I already have here. So what we've done in each mezzanine, we've put in spaces for future vessels, number 1, so it's easy to expand. And number 2, I've sized everything so that we could make all the production either on 1 shift or 2 shifts on 5 days. So of course, by working the 5th, the 6th, and 7th day, you're picking up 40%. And by picking up the 3rd shift where necessary, you're picking up 33%. So we've got at least 75% extra capacity for growth. And I'm oversizing all the bulk tanks so that they're designed for the future. So instead of putting in a 6,000 gallon bulk tank, we're putting in 9,000 gallon bulk tanks. So I'm building all the infrastructure for the future. I'm bringing in enough power. I'm bringing in enough hot oil because we have to put steam boilers in, hot oil systems, hot glycol systems. We had to bring in 3,000 amps of power. So everything that I'm bringing in, I'm oversizing it for the future so that the cost of expansion will be very small incrementally to the initial investment. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
It does. Thank you, Tony.
Okay, do we have any additional questions from the board?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Sanders. I want to echo the gratitude for you continuing to choose St. Louis and specifically the area that you're in. Do you have any numbers that you can give or any measurable outcomes on the efforts that you might put in for the new hires that'll be coming through this or the hires that you have now that live in your area, in your footprint?
Yeah, I have the number of new hires, and what we try to do is we try to hire locally first. But I'm a very honest person. Sometimes some of the employees do come from just outside the area here. We haven't had a tremendous amount of success hiring within like a 4-block or 6-block radius. We've tried our best to hire in this area, and we bring people in, but they don't stay. But our efforts are to always try to hire locally. And we're hiring local operator. We're hiring operators to load the vessels. We're hiring packers that are a lower level. We're hiring QC people. I'm talking hourly. We're hiring warehouse people. Right now, I've been trying to hire 6 maintenance people for almost a year, and we're going backwards. I had 2, and we're down to none. So we're actively hiring right now, and we're trying our best to hire locally. I have to find, and maybe the board could help us with this and guide us, but we're having a hard time attracting local people into the jobs here.
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Mr. Sanders, for your honesty, right? Because some people might would have stood before us or sat before us and said the truth with that. I absolutely want to help in my position, but here, you never know. That might be the reason why this question was was brought forward today, so that somebody else listening can hear. I would recommend maybe going through the schools. I don't know what the beginning age is, but our St. Louis Public Schools and some of the other workforce programs here in St. Louis might have a pipeline for you, as well as Slate here, our very own in the city of St. Louis. So again, thank you. Here clearly through the challenges you're still choosing. We know the devastation that a company or industry like yours leaving that area, what it would mean to that area, and the fact that it wouldn't be repurposed as quickly as some of our counterparts. So we want you to stay. I'm saying I want you to stay. I want you to help. I want to help you. So please, let's connect maybe afterwards and after this meeting, and I can connect you with not only some of the people here in the city, but some other programs to build that and be ready for the new growth that you're going to have. Thank you.
Just so you know, what we're trying to do to attract people, we keep the outside of the building as nice as we can. I mean, we bought a couple, and I'll say it, we bought a couple of crack houses and we tore them down. We made parking lots and we grassed it over. We're really trying to make the area nice. And I'm putting a lot of extra money into nicer fencing around the facilities. And we're trying to make the infrastructure inside, whether it's the lunch rooms, the break rooms, the toilet. We're trying to make Chemline a place that people want to work. Now, our workforce that is here are very loyal. They don't leave. It's just trying to attract people into the area to work. I don't know whether it's the address or not, but again, I will work with your team to try to hire local people as much as we can, and especially maintenance people, because I'm desperate to hire some maintenance people right now.
I have a question. What are the job requirements?
Well, for the hourly people, we're looking for people that they have to be able to read and write, of course, and you need to have some math skills because when you're loading the batch sheets, it's a chemical company, so you have to be able to you have to follow procedures. You got to wear the proper PPE protection to protect themselves. We have to have people that are going to come to work every day because when you're making batches, especially if it runs over 2 shifts, you get runaway reactions if you leave them unattended. So really what we're looking for the hourly people, a high school education and a good work ethic. That's it.
That's great. And I don't know how well you can see the room, but we have a room full of economic development practitioners who can help connect you with the right folks. So appreciate the overview. Do we have any other questions from the board? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
Yes, my name is Race.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. I just wanted to follow up to Alderwoman Clark Hubbard's question. Do you know maybe about like how many vacancies you might or positions you have open right now and are looking to fill and the average pay? And if you could speak more to the expected outcomes of the project.
Okay. Well, like I say, right now I know we've got 6 openings for maintenance. And I understand there's a local college that I just learned about this. There's a local college around here that trains people in electrical, mechanical skills, welding skills. So I know those 6. I know we've got a couple operators and packers. So I would say right now we probably got 10 or 12 openings. And our pay ranges were above the average because we looked at the average pay. We basically start people 23, 24, and they can go up to $40 an hour. And they have very good benefits here. We pay 100% of their health benefits, and I think 25 or 50% for their dependents.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve Resolution 26 SLDC 1086?
Second.
In a second, can we get a roll call?
Director Arnold,
Yes.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Aye.
Director Gilbert,
Aye.
Director Coney,
Aye.
Director McBride,
Aye.
Alderwoman Sonye,
Aye.
Director Spencer,
Aye.
Director Young.
Aye.
Chairman Davis.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you again, Tony, for the overview and again for ChemLine's commitment to St. Louis. Really appreciate it and look forward to seeing your future success. Moving to agenda item number 4, we have resolution number 26 SLDC 1087, approving and authorizing St. Louis Development Corporation to allocate up to $7 million of new market tax credits and $3,452,400 of ARPA funds for the Habitat for the Humanity Housing Initiative. And again, I invite SVP of New Market Tax Credits, Bill Seddon, to the floor.
Thank you. We are seeking authorization to sub-allocate up to $7 million of new market tax credits to the Habitat for Humanity Housing Initiative. This project will finance the development of 40 single-family homes in North St. Louis, all located along Evans Avenue within the city's 12th ward. And the homes are situated in 2 different highly distressed census tracts in the Vandeventer neighborhood, just east of Newstead. And they are, it's a couple of different blocks, but I'll point out that the majority of these properties are owned by LRA currently. And this neighborhood was severely impacted by the tornado of 2025. Total project costs are estimated to be $17 million, and we have been able to sort of cobble together 3 different new markets allocations for a total of $17 million. 7, of course, coming from SLDC, There's 6.7 million committed from Enterprise Bank CDE and 3.3 million from US Bank CDE. US Bank is also the tax credit investor on this transaction, which basically continues the partnership of our previous Habitat deal that we did back in, I think it was 2023, if I'm not mistaken, where I think they were building 20 homes. I think that's still in process, but that's another, that was actually our first rodeo with affordable housing. So we're happy to be back in that space. An important strength of this transaction is that Smith NMTC is going to be doing the structuring and doing the compliance for this. And they are one of the nation's leading affordable housing consultants in the new market space. And really with them and with the allocatees we have at US Bank, it's an all-star team that we've put together. Midwest Bank Center is providing $8.8 million of leverage, and the remainder of the leverage, $3.45 million roughly, is coming from the city's ARPA funds. So that makes up the capital stack, and we think that this is going to be a great project. 18 of the 40 parcels will transfer to Habitat next week, and then the other 22 will be transferred, I think, as their development ready over time. But I think Habitat is prepared to take on 18 of the parcels right now. I should let Kimberly McKinney, who is on here, provide context in a lot more detail than I can provide. So I'm going to turn it over to Kimberly, who is the CEO of Habitat St. Louis. Kimberly, welcome.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate the time. Appreciate the opportunity to be here with SLDC. As Bill shared, there are a number of partners in this transaction. Couldn't have done it without any of them. The total development is 40 houses, which coincides with Habitat's 40th anniversary here in the St. Louis community. Our geographic service area as a Habitat affiliate is all of St. Louis City and County. And it is a continuation of a transaction we initiated in 2023. As we're wrapping up those homes, lessons learned, they are spread out from Hyde Park all the way down to Gravely, South Jefferson, and included a number of rehabs in addition to new construction. So Habitat looks forward to this development in a contiguous block mostly, and all new construction of homes range from 2-bedroom and 1.5 bath to 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. We firmly believe that the beauty of a community is in its diversity. So trying to make sure that the housing styles and designs are attractive to different buyers, not just people with children, but elderly. Habitat has been very intentional going into this to start trying to reach out through the recovery team with the city to renters who were displaced during the tornado. We actually have a couple of applicants who have already sent in their pre-application. So Habitat works with 2 application process. They get pre-screened and then they move on to long form application. We've done almost 500 houses here in St. Louis. We're hitting that number very, very quickly and just excited about continuing the build. Happy to answer any questions.
I have one. Will these homes have lower levels or basements?
Yes. All Habitat homes. Habitat several years ago did a pilot project of trying slab on grade and decided that that doesn't really do right by St. Louis. So we no longer, all of our homes have basements.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. McKinney, talk a little bit about your pipeline, because I know you guys are becoming experts at using these new market tax credits, and just a general comment, in these neighborhoods, we have to create these markets and we have to bring buyers into these markets. So it's not necessarily build it and they will come. You have to have some density. So maybe you could talk a little bit about the other projects you have in addition to this one. And I think that'll show kind of the commitment to, building new homes in that area.
Sure. Appreciate that question. Yeah, currently Habitat for Humanity St. Louis is building from, as I said, Hyde Park down to Gravely, South Jefferson. We have builds under construction in the Gate District, in the area between Soulard and Lafayette Square, and then in the county in University City and in Maplewood. And one of the things that Habitat has done is really tried to make sure that our homes can be available for folks at different price points. So, someone may qualify for a first mortgage at 170 versus someone else who qualifies at 210. And that may look different from what their housing design is. The new markets gives us the flexibility of going up to 80% of the median. And so part of these homes, we really feel like that this will be a stronger community if it is a mix of income ranges as well. And that actually, along with the various neighborhood plans, really drove the design of the homes and the fact that we wanted to have some diversity in what we offered. I mean, we can easily see some of the 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath being something that is attractive to, perhaps a senior who is seeking housing and needs to get away from having 2 stories. So these are 1-story homes that would allow them to, live very comfortably, and have some great outdoor space, by the way, all the way up to the ones that have more bedrooms for families raising children.
In the resolution, there was some talk about modular builders, and I know we approved some new market tax credits for MBS. Bill, do you have any updates on those investments into their technology and when the first homes might be coming off the line there?
I've not been in touch with them lately. I do know they purchased their equipment. They're outfitting their plant. I don't have a timetable on when they're going to be producing their first homes. I mean, I know they made a prototype, but I don't know when they're going to start rolling homes off the assembly line. But they have purchased all their equipment and they're operating, but they're trying to get, fully employed. And so there's a little bit of a learning curve and some growing pains for a startup manufacturer. So, but I will check in with them and let you know.
Everybody,
And I will just share.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Sean. They are one of the modular companies. We are doing a lot of due diligence right now around both modular and panelization. They're one of 5, I believe it's 5 companies we have met with. The new markets, once the closing occurs, the clock starts ticking and you have 18 months to deploy the funds. So Habitat is doing a lot of due diligence around how do we partner possibly with either modular or panelization for some of these homes. Some of these will be traditional Habitat build, just because part of our model is having corporate and civic groups out to help build our homes. So we're really doing a lot of work around that right now and trying to decide what's the most efficient path forward. Additionally, and you sort of alluded to this, this is a community where there's a lot of vacant ground currently, and the attractiveness of being able to have home buyers there, I think, is going to be in the depth of what all else is happening there with 40 homes, with the other developments around nearby.
Yeah. That was my point. I think we've all been looking into the modular option, and we're just waiting for somebody to produce that product. So keep it up and keep us all informed. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
I have just a few questions. First, I'm really grateful to see this this type of development in tornado impacted areas, but also this type of use of LRA properties. I hope that continues to be a conversation. I think we need to get as much as we can redeveloped and out of the hands of the city of that land bank. So I'm happy to see that. I was just seeking clarity on 2 points. I know that it says approximately 40 LRA owned parcels. Do you know how many homes you expect to produce or place on those 40 LRA owned parcels, and the types of homes, how many bedrooms, bathrooms, that sort of information?
Sure. So it actually is 40 homes. I think there actually is, and I know Shelton Anderson is on, and he's been great to work with. There's actually more than 40 parcels total, including some privately owned lots. And I'm going to go back to your first comment. Habitat St. Louis loves working with LRA versus private buyers. It's a far easier process for us as well. So we've done that throughout the years. So it is 40 homes. Some of the parcels have to be combined. The homes range from, there's 6 styles total: 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath, all the way up to 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. And one of the things we've done, Alderwoman, is really tried to pay attention to the community plan that the city had developed there, working with the partners, and marry that to the development that Rankin Tech has done on the western end of the block. So looking at, having homes that have some brick on them, and then as you go farther west, because a lot of the Rankin homes do not, sort of, we don't want that very startling difference in home style. So have really worked with St. Louis Design Alliance to make sure that there is a subtle blend of what the outside of the homes look like that is also consistent with the neighborhood plan. So again, 2.5, 2-bedroom, 1.5, all the way up to 3, 2.5. There's some that are 3, 2, 1 stories and 2 stories. 450 homes, what we have learned about working with our partner families. And I appreciate some of the comments, because we can build anywhere, we can't sell anywhere. So our home buyers are like us. Like, their dream of home ownership for some of them is, they want a 2-story home. That's what they've envisioned since they were little. Whereas others are, no, put me on one floor, please. So really try to have a good blend.
Thank you. My last question, I'm not sure if this one is for you or it's just more of a question about the resolution. I can see that we're given $3,452,400 of ARPA funds, but the first line says authorizing SLDC to allocate up to $7 million. So I was just curious about the difference in those amounts.
It's $7 million in tax credits, and then the ARPA is the ARPA contribution. So it's and both. And I'm sorry, Bill, I think you were trying to answer that, and I
Well,
jumped in front of
the
you.
7 million really represents the amount of tax credits we're putting forth. And with the other 2 CDEs, that's 17 million in tax credits, which get monetized by an equity investor, which in this case is US Bank. But you still need 80% roughly of leverage sources in order to, access that equity from US Bank. So the leverage sources are Midwest Bank Center with 8.8 million of traditional loan. And then the ARPA money comes in as low interest money or grant money to round out the capital stack. So you've got equity and leverage in order to make up the total financing for this project, which is the way all new market deals work.
Thank you. My last, this is not a question, it's just a acknowledgement. I think this is also an impressive capital stack. So congratulations to you all at SLDC for working together to put together this kind of holistic package to make the project happen.
Thank you.
I have one more question. What would be the price of these homes? What price range?
We believe they will have first mortgages that start in that, and we're still putting some of this together, but I would think the lowest would be 170 and probably into the low 200s. Habitat sort of does it a little backwards when we're dealing with traditional Habitat families, in that we really do look at the affordability, because our goal is not just to create a homeowner, but to create a successful homeowner.
Mm-hmm.
Like to recognize Shelton Anderson, VP of LRA, has his hand up.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, all. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Excellent. So good morning, board. Good morning, those attending. And I just will be very brief. We're excited because, this is not just a singular project, but really a partnership amongst many city agencies that we've been working on for more than a year, along with what Habitat is looking to do here on the Evans Avenue block. Just as mentioned earlier, and the comment from Bill with regarding the infill housing project, that project is actually happening directly across the street from this area. So not only will there be the development of 40 new single-family homes that Habitat is building, but there also will be the development of the infill housing pilot, which is again going to be directly across from the Monarch on MLK in that corridor. But also there is the CDA Pro Housing Initiative that is being funded within the same corridor. So this really is, how we've been working in partnership with our city agencies to, get the best bang for our buck and producing, not just a few homes, but really a bigger development, a larger development that the city and the residents want to see along the MLK corridor. So we're excited and definitely looking forward to the support from the SLDC board.
Absolutely. I just have one question, and apologies if I missed it. For the 20 build-ready lots that are soon to be transferred, what's the sense of timing on construction of those?
We will, if everything goes according to plan and we close on the new market tax credits, we would have those under construction in September. And we would be hosting an event sometime in August that you would all be invited out to. Habitat doesn't do your traditional groundbreaking with golden shovels. We hope to have heavy equipment on site and really turn some dirt. So because of the new market timeline, we'll be aggressive.
That's great.
I just want to add one point that's been alluded to, but I think is really important. So, putting together a complicated financing stack and the commitment and partnership with LRA, those are all critical elements. But curating a group of ready buyers who are qualified to buy, and it speaks to the demand and the market creation piece that, if it's not if we build it, they will come, but working simultaneously to make sure that there are home buyers who want to live there, who are qualified, I think is an important part of developing housing in historically disinvested, communities. So I think that's something that Habitat is well versed in and is an important component in their overall approach to development.
Thank you, Mr. Westbrook.
Any other questions from the board? Hearing
I have a
none.
comment.
You got one? Go ahead. Sorry.
I just say, again, I just say, just let me know when you want to go and keep moving up west on Evans. I'm excited for this project, and we just pulled up the addresses because we couldn't see them in the resolution. But again, thank you for your continued work, Ms. McKinney, your commitment, and of course, Mr. Shelton. And again, I want to offer my support if you want to move on up the block.
Appreciate that.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to approve resolution number 26 SLDC 1087?
Second.
Can we get a roll call?
Director Arnold,
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Aye.
Director Gilbert,
Aye.
Director Caney,
Aye.
Director McBride,
Aye.
Alderwoman Sonia. Aye. Director Spencer,
Aye.
Director Young,
Aye.
Chairman Davis.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you again, Kimberly and Bill, for the presentation. We look forward to seeing this continue to come together moving forward. So moving on to agenda item number 5, we have resolution number 26 SLDC 1088, adopting updates to the procurement policy for acquisition of professional services other than architects, engineers, and land surveyors. And to present, we have James Morrow. Take it away.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, board. I'm here to talk about the proposed updates to SLDC's procurement policy for professional services. These are specifically professional services other than architects, engineers, and land surveyors. SLDC has a separate procurement policy for those types of services. Just as a little bit of background, SLDC used to follow the city's procurement process for these types of services. The city has an ordinance that was adopted in around 2000, identifying how to procure professional services. And we've been following the rules promulgated by the Board of Public Service for that ordinance, which were adopted in 2004. So about 2 decades old. In 2021, SLDC elected to adopt its own procurement policy to streamline retaining professional services. And that policy has been updated a few times with some minor revisions, most recently in 2024. So we've had the policy in its current form for a couple of years. We have a little bit more understanding of what works well and where some of the pain points are. And with the city updating its own procurement policy, the time is ripe for us to take a look at how we've been operating and make some structural changes that will help us procure professional services more effectively. So attached in your packet is a track changes copy of the policy, so you'll see precisely what is being amended. The resolution covers some of the highlights. I'm happy to go through them with the board if desired, or if there are any particular questions about some of the revisions, happy to entertain those as well.
Do we have any questions from the board?
I had the honor of being an alder to kind of help work on the city's recent change to our procurement process, and I can definitely say that they are very outdated. Markets and costs have changed significantly.
Yes.
And they're a much different market. So I was just curious about, for specifically the non-competitive negotiations, the range changed from 50K to 150K, and then some points of clarification, if you could talk that through with the board.
Sure. Yeah. So we are increasing the cap on non-competitively negotiated procurements for professional services from 50,000 up to 150,000. That tracks the changes from the Board of Public Service and recognizes the increasing cost of professional services over the intervening 2 decades. The $50,000 cap was established by BPS in 2004, so we're 22 years past that. We have also refined the circumstances in which the non-competitive negotiation is appropriate. There was, I don't want to say a loophole, but some ambiguity in the existing form of procurements where a self-created emergency could serve as a basis to try and do emergency procurements. And we've clarified that that's not really something that we are trying to encourage. There has to be a bona fide exigency for us to use this procurement methodology. And not to just go to a single source, but to the extent possible, try to engage in some form of competitive procurements, whether it be direct solicitation to a number of firms, even if we're not going through formal advertising, to at least make sure that SLDC is getting the best deal that it can. The last bullet point, this is actually amended in the BPS rules, I think, a couple of years ago. SLDC uses funding from various sources, some federal funds, some state funds, some city funds, and some private funds. Those funding sources all have varying caps on non-competitively negotiated contracts. So this addition allows flexibility for SLDC to apply the higher cap for non-competitively negotiated contracts than what is in our procurement rules. So that just allows additional flexibility in case there is a circumstance in which SLDC needs to go out and retain services that can't be competitively procured. It gives additional options for the amount of that contract based on funding source.
Any other questions?
Yeah, this part of what concerns me in all of this is, number one, we got less than a day to read through all of this. This is a lot of information, a very big packet, and that concerns me that staff or whoever is responsible for this didn't give us, even 24 hours to look at it before we have to work on it. It also concerns me that in several places you're taking the board out of the process. We don't have to approve something. You're taking that away from us. Part of what we do, I think, is oversight, and that's sort of disappearing. And especially non-competitive kinds of stuff or things that concern me is when we make an exception to do something, how are we documenting that so that the next time that comes up, we're following the same protocol? That's not clear to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are good points, and I apologize about the short turn time. You are correct in that we are delegating authority to the president and CEO to authorize the issuance of a solicitation, so RFP or RFQ, but those contracts still need board authority to move forward. So any procurements will still return to the board unless they fall under the $25,000 small purchase agreement. So the board will still have a level of oversight. What we've found is some administrative pain points in coming to the board, which meets on a monthly cycle to authorize an RFP or an RFQ. It can add up to 3 or 4 weeks to the time frame for a procurement when staff is ready to go, but they just missed the last board meeting. So we're trying to help streamline and make it easier for staff to get those procurements out the door. If it would be helpful, we can add a requirement that any RFPs or RFQs that are issued be reported at the next board meeting, so the board is still aware of what solicitations are pending out there. That might help mitigate some concerns over staff going wild and buying a bunch of services that maybe aren't appropriate.
Yeah, our staff knows when our board meetings are, they know when things are happening. And so, I've heard that excuse before. And it's just frustrating that, we're trying to change our policies to fit sort of the timeframes that are unexpected. It seems like the staff ought to be getting their act together to be at the board meeting. That's my feeling.
Understood.
I would I don't know if this is a question. I think when I'm reading through this, and I, did take some time last night through, I do see, to me, it looks like the goal is to try to, make some of the processes more efficient and eliminate some of the red tape. But I do think this is just such a large change with the red lines. And I think this is really significant to a lot of our contracting processes and what we support. So I would share Ms. Gilbert's position of preferring to wait to be able to read over this a bit more to make sure I understand all the changes that I would be voting for. But I also understand if you guys would move this forward, I probably would vote no because I haven't had the time to read through this thoroughly and make sure that I understand exactly what I'm authorizing. Although I can say everything I've had a chance to read through does seem to me like I can understand those changes. It's just that with, less than 24 hours and just this being so important to our daily business, I don't feel comfortable taking that vote today.
Understood.
I also echo the statements that, I just didn't have time to the time I should spend on something this significant. But I did have one question. When you increase the cap from 50 to 150K, do you have any idea, maybe in the last year, how many or what percentage of our procurements, thank you, would have rolled into this policy?
Fortunately, we do not have to do non-competitively negotiated procurements very often.
Okay.
But when we have, thinking particularly of the B2G contract for our certification program, we have Griffin and Strong, which is helping with reviewing our minority and women business enterprise program. And believe those two contracts in particular exceeded the $50,000 cap.
Okay.
I think one fell under 150, another was around, I think 175-ish. So it still would have slightly exceeded the 150 cap, but again, I think that reflects the increasing cost in the market for these types of services.
That makes sense. All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
Sure. One question. Would it do any violence to any pending RFPs that are in the process of being prepared or anything else that the staff is engaged in if this were to be deferred 1 month?
I don't believe so. I know there is a resolution in this packet requesting authority to issue an RFP. So that already is coming up before the board for review. I think if the board desires an extra month to consider, that's perfectly appropriate. I don't think it's going to cause any meaningful delays in SLDC's procurements.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just have to say, I think it's good business when you're going to do large changes like this as a responsible board. I think it's good business for us to have, even another day would have given me more time. And it could be, I know we all have our own calendars and I have parsed through it, but I think it's important that as a responsible board who's going to do good oversight, we're aware. I definitely have just a few questions, sort of like the bona fide exigency, which I read through. Like I was able to kind of read through and do some research and get some context. But another month would give me a chance to follow up with yourself or Mr. Westbrook or whoever about anything else that was unclear for me and kind of ask more questions along the lines of the similar question. I know at the Board of Aldermen, when we picked what we were going to change the procurement amount, we looked at the contracts in place and we picked the new cap. We wanted to make sure it captured that. So I do understand moving in that direction. I just haven't had a chance to ask all the questions and get all the information that would make me feel comfortable to know that, these changes are really in the best interest of everything.
Sure. Understood. I mean, I think in that circumstance, there might be, Dave, you want to give the instructions? It might be appropriate to move to postpone consideration of 26 SLDC 1089 and the companion resolution 26 SLDC 1090, which is adopting a new procurement policy to the next board meeting.
Any additional comment, concern? We get a motion to table resolution number 26 SLDC 1089 and resolution.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's 1088 and
1088. Sorry, I'm reading the wrong line here.
So did I.
Can we get a motion to table resolution number 26 SLDC 1088 and resolution number 26 SLDC 1089?
Second.
We get a roll call.
Director Arnold,
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Aye.
Director Gilbert,
Aye.
Director Koenig,
Aye.
Director McBride,
Aye.
Alderwoman Sonier,
Aye.
Director Spencer,
Aye.
Director Young,
Aye.
Chairman Davis.
Aye.
Thank you.
With that, the motion passes. Thank you, James. Next agenda item, we have resolution number 26 SLDC 1090, approving 2026 updates to the certification and compliance rules for the City of St. Louis Minority and Women Business Enterprise Program. Here to present is EVP Stephanie Greasy.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today to present some rule updates. As you know, we have been monitoring the certification and compliance program for MWBEs actively in SLDC since 2024. In August of 2024, you adopted some updated rules to govern the program. Since then, there have been a lot of changes, administrative and otherwise, changes at the legislative level. And so as we're going through just overall updates to the program, we also wanted to make sure that the rules were conforming. So that's what's being presented to you today for approval. Before I walk you through some of the changes, I did want to give just a quick operational update on both the certification program and the compliance program. I last gave some data on these a couple of months ago, but just to share on the certification program, this last quarter, we really saw the impact of our operational shift and how we process these certifications. We received 260 applications into the system for processing. And just again, to give some context, before that, we had, at sometimes over 300 applications just sitting out that had been submitted by firms, waiting for us to acknowledge that they were there and bring them in for processing. So we've brought 260 in. We have no one waiting anymore to get processed. Everything that's submitted is. Yes, thank you. Thank you. I was telling my mom I had all these presentations today, and she said, your grandpa used to practice pausing for applause. I didn't do that. I didn't know it was going to happen.
Give it to you anyway.
And again, Melinda Curry on the team has been incredible with responsiveness. So we are getting applications received within 48 hours, which is that had not been happening before. So just wanted to share that highlight in terms of processing. We processed 116 no change renewals last quarter. Again, this is up from 78 the prior term. Again, these are businesses that are just operating, continuing their work, continuing to serve the city and the county. And we just want to review and verify that they're continuing to be in good standing. So that's an exciting update. We also approved 6 new businesses for certification last quarter, even though we did not have our June meeting. 3 of those were in the county, 3 of them were in the city. There were other approvals outside of the region, but those were the 6 that we are highlighting for the region, which again is exciting. Responsiveness is up. We are helping people get back onto the system to understand that our login is different than the airport's login, so they know where to go for the information. That's been really great. Again, continuing to offer training programs and other resources. And then yesterday, we revived our specialized workshop for MWBEs that are in the construction space to let them know how to more actively engage with incentivized deals and city projects. That was something that had lapsed for several months, and we had a great turnout. We had a really great engagement from the firms. Again, just saying, here's how you find the plan room, here's how you bid, here are the trainings that we offer through the NEEC to help you just kind of build capacity. Again, that was very well received. So we're excited about that. And then after the conversation about the program rules today, we do plan to have a social media push to not only talk about the training that we did yesterday, but remind folks of the login. And then we're going to be doing a pitch competition later this year, specifically for businesses in the construction trade. So just kind of posting all of that information and reminding folks that we're open for certification processing. So we'll be sharing that information later next week. And then on the compliance side, again, January through May, I have some data for you there just to bring you up to speed. You may remember in January, we did do a board presentation about some 2025 highlights for the program. So this is just through May of this year. For context, the compliance team is monitoring 67 projects across what I call like project types, 5 different project types. And as I've been getting to learn more about how this program works, there's not just one set of rules for every project, right? It depends on what the incentive is, when the incentive was approved, what the status of the project is, whether it's part of a larger redevelopment area. So there are a lot of complexities to that I just wanted to name, but they're monitoring 67 projects across those different project types. They've got about $2.8 billion in total project costs under monitoring. So just to contextualize like how much work is happening through that team. And then they're monitoring over 7.8 million hours of labor hours worked. So again, just tracking and just keeping track of how things are going in terms of construction. Through May, just thinking about the annual reporting requirements that are under the 70767 statute, there have been no unauthorized subcontract substitutions. So I think that's good to know. And then finally, we do track project performance against contract goals and regulation at project close. So whenever a project closes, we send a letter, we say, here were your goals, here's how you did, and then here's how we assess you in terms of good faith efforts. And so of the 44 closed projects that we're tracking right now, 75% of those either had full or partial compliance with those participation goals, and almost 90% of them had satisfied the good faith efforts narrative that is part of the program as well. So just wanted to share just some of those details with you all. I know that's a lot of information, and we'll continue to refine the reporting that we give to you all on both the certification and compliance side, but just wanted to share that snapshot before I get into kind of back to the request for these program updates. So at a high level, the proposed changes that we're making are primarily to incorporate current MBE compliance and certification guidance into the rules, specifically Executive Order 91, which was adopted last year and does make some refinements to how the ordinances work. We also want to make sure that the redevelopment agreements that we manage are clearly incorporated into the rules and just adding more context around how good faith efforts works, how we're thinking about utilization plans, again, so there's alignment with current guidance. We're also thinking about how we describe different dates in the rules. They were not always consistent. They were not always clear. So again, for shared understanding and transparency, we wanted to align those elements. We also get a number of questions about reciprocity with other certification programs. So that is addressed in the rules. And then we'd added some I think some more, I'm not sure how to describe it, but around the program review committee itself, not only how many people we can have on the committee, but just clarifying roles, responsibilities, timelines. And we added some information in the rules about conflicts of interest to make sure that that is, again, clear and shared understanding for everyone. I will pause there and take any questions y'all have about the program rule updates or the programs in general.
Guess I'll start and just say congratulations. I really feel like you're building more trust with the contractors, with the developers, with the GCs, and predictability is what Stephen has mentioned a lot. I do want to make one general comment. Just in this environment, I think we all know we're getting less projects than we have in the past, and there's a lot of reasons for that. We know our market, is weaker compared to some other markets, like we attracting more businesses and more development. But what I'm hearing now is that banks need to understand that this process and the approvals have some predictability, because without that, they can't underwrite the deals. So if we want to go straight to the financial benefit of making sure that this department and these policies are right, I think we have to understand like who's looking at it, who's taking the risk, and who's providing the capital to get these projects done. And if they don't have trust in our system, then they don't have trust in our city, and we're not going to see the growth that we all want to see. So I want to make a general comment.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments about the proposed updates?
Can you talk about the good faith effort review?
About how it works?
Yeah, I think those of us who've been dealing with the NWBE know that that's probably from contractors who would fit with NWBE, the thing that they ask about the most. So I would just want to put it on record in case they may be watching, or to help myself to get ahead of questions that may come to me later.
Yeah, sure. And so really the best place to go for good faith efforts is the compliance team if there are questions. But what we do is we ask, there are the goals that are set out, the goals that are established up front with the utilization plan. We also ask the developers to make sure that they are reaching out to potential participants, that they are actively promoting their programs, that they're calling, that they're sending emails, that they're following up diligently, that they're opening, bid review opportunities to contractors who are also certified firms, and just providing fair, open access to the opportunity. One of the things that we've, talked about is how much time of extra notice is given, right? Is it we've got a bid opportunity opening tomorrow, come and see that. We really want to see like some lead time. And then also looking at the packages that are put together. Are we bidding the full package at the full size, or are there opportunities to break packages up into smaller amounts that might be more accessible for certified firms? So we look at those types of efforts. We're also looking at, it's not just construction, right? That plays in the delivery of a project. There may be, if you have events, maybe there's an opportunity to bring in a janitorial service that has, portable, facilities that you could use. They're not necessarily construction, but they may own that kind of service, or a cleaning service. We've talked about that earlier. So really looking at how are you engaging with certified firms throughout the life of the construction project, and are you making efforts to bring them in a participatory way? So that is how we are handling that now. Again, these updates to the rules, I think, will provide some useful guidance to folks. And like one of the things we noticed is that good faith efforts, the way they were described in the rules previously, only pointed to city projects, and it ended kind of at the bid, when the bid closed. And we really think that, again, that life cycle of the project is what we should be looking at for good faith effort. So try to make some of that more clear as well. But the compliance team is really the best place to go for that answer. Hopefully that was enough. Okay.
Working with the county and having conversations.
Oh, gosh. What a question. We are working with as many folks as we can. So I have shared previously that we have reopened communications with the airport and by state. They do the DBE certification for the state. That had, that was not functioning well. So we are meeting with them. There's an ice cream social on Friday that I've been invited to. So I will be having some ice cream. So that is happening on the state side. And then on the county side, we actually are meeting with some folks in the county offices next week to talk about what we're doing. And also, I imagine how things are going on the county side as well. So that is happening. They reached out actually through our EDP friends. So that'll be a really good conversation. I think that we're going to be meeting with 5 folks over there. And then Councilwoman Webb has been reaching out to just try to get a sense for how we're doing things. So she and I have been exchanging messages as well to get something on the calendar.
Yeah, seems like easy wins, but
Yeah.
you can't just have things divided right at our county line.
Yeah, that's right. And I think just talking about them and just open up those lines of communications. That's how we, I think, discovered that there are a number of firms, certified firms, who maybe don't know that there's a different website to register, because I'm getting maybe 4 or 5 times a month, I'm getting something from Fran, like, no, MBE is over at SLDC. You got to talk to Stephanie, and that's new happening, but it's also revealing, like maybe folks they haven't bookmarked our site. So let's get that taken care of.
I would add to that, legislatively, it's my hope that Councilwoman Webb and maybe a few other members and a few members from the Board of Aldermen, not too many, because we got to avoid a certain amount of quorum, but that we would be able to have some joint conversations as we work on the legislative part of NWBE. I think, especially since both the city and the county are engaged in these conversations, I know it's been discussed amongst my colleagues and some members of the county council that we want the same thing. We would like to have maybe some uniform practice and be moving in the same direction for the sake of uniformity in both areas. So it's my hope that we can get that meeting on the books. We hopefully go down from Board of Aldermen on the 24th, and I suspect after that, my colleagues and I will have a little bit more time. And so I think it's definitely a shared hope of all of us that we'd be able to sit down and start to have those conversations.
Any other questions?
Hearing none, is there a motion to approve resolution number 26 SLDC 1090?
So moved. Request previous roll.
Second.
Hearing no objections, the motion carries. So moving on to agenda item number 8, we have resolution number 26 SLDC 1091, approving execution of a rental agreement extension with the St. Louis Community College for use of the William J. Harrison Education Center for the Northside Economic Empowerment Center. And again, we have Stephanie Greasy to present this resolution.
Thanks again for considering this resolution today. As you all know, we've been operating the Northside Economic Empowerment Center since 2023. In mid-25, we did move from Sumner High School to the Harrison Center on Cass. That happened in May of last year. When we moved, we signed a lease with the community college through June of 26. We have funding. We've secured funding within the department for the program through the end of the calendar year through a combination of ARPA and other proceeds. So we wanted to make sure that our rent at the Harrison Center lined up with the funding for the team. So this is a request to extend that lease through the end of this calendar year. I did share a couple of highlights about the program in the resolution, but they have been, it's really been a pleasure working with Nicole and her team at the NEEC. The way they engage with small businesses is really fantastic. Businesses that go there feel supported and engaged. And even last year, through the tornado and the moving locations and all of that, they still served over 300 businesses, both virtually and in person, which was incredible. This year, they've got a full slate of training programs offered through November of this year, which is exciting. They just hosted the Yeah, I Built That partnership with Construction Forum. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to go to that, but it's an exciting opportunity for young people to learn about the construction trades and get real hands-on experience, with plumbing and building. And there was a robotic dog there that did not come to me. The only dog I've ever met that does not like me is this dog robot. Anyway, they had that there. That was exciting. So there just been a lot of really great things happening out of the NEEC. And again, like I mentioned in the earlier presentation, they're hosting pitch coaching at the site, and they did a pitch competition earlier this year for small business, and we're going to be doing that again later this year, specifically around the construction trade. So there are a lot of exciting things happening, and I'd love to be able to support them by extending their lease through the end of the year. Happy to take any questions.
It definitely seems like a no-brainer to me. And obviously, I'm aware of the great work that the NEC does and the great work that Nicole does. And it's great to see it highlighted too through SLDC's channel. I know people are getting more awareness about it. Do we have any questions or comments from the board?
I just want to echo the gratitude for the work that I remember when we were first standing this up, and to see it now grow, the growth in it and the outcomes from it. I think the intentional efforts that have been put into it and the work that they've done, even through their challenges and even through their loss, right? That they have kept going. So I continue my full support for this work. Please let me know if there's anything I can do to support, not just in this resolution, but moving forward and sharing the efforts in the community.
Thank you.
I was just going to ask what's going to happen in January.
Yes, well, I'm going to talk with my boss about that. Any other questions?
Further questions, comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve resolution number 26 SLDC 1091?
So move.
Second.
Request
Director.
previous roll. We'll do previous roll.
Previous row.
Yeah. Hearing no objection.
Acknowledge that request.
Yeah, there's been a request for previous roll. Hearing no objections, motion carries. Moving on to agenda item number 9, we have resolution number 26 SLDC 1092, authorizing issuance of a request for proposals for a financial systems consultant and establishing a selection committee to review, select, and recommend proposals for a financial systems consultant. And again, we have Executive Vice President Stephanie Greasy to present.
Hello again. Halfway through my marathon agenda presentations here. So as we've talked about before, SLDC has outlined a strategic framework around creating, accelerating, and supporting markets to intentionally catalyze consistent growth. To execute on this framework, we've identified 5 lanes of operations: developer experience, deal execution, land assembly, capital coordination, and developing a strong operational backbone. As part of this operational backbone work, we're reviewing our systems and processes to improve efficiency and stakeholder experience. A key focus is our financial infrastructure. Our finance team has deep institutional knowledge and many decades of experience and value that has been brought to the organization. It's all served us very well through clean audits, just year after year after year. And we also know that our organizational growth and changing needs really create the perfect opportunity to modernize these systems to better support our strategic goals. We expect this formal review to assess current financial systems usage, provide context on industry best practices, and generate a clear and actionable path to fully optimize the use of our financial management system, to modernize our current workflows, to document clear and consistent processes, to generate efficient real-time financial reporting, and to provide our stakeholders with rich data-driven financial insights about the organization. As we go through this process, it will be important that the firms we consider understand complex and diverse sources of funding, be agnostic to the types of software systems we use, and have a proven track record of successfully guiding this type of work. With approval of the board, we respectfully request approval to issue a request for proposals for a qualified financial systems consultant to conduct this review on behalf of the organization. We will return to the board after we complete the RFP process and conduct the selection committee meetings. Happy to take any questions at this time.
you have an idea on what the costs may be and how it's going to be paid for?
Um, to be determined on both. I think we need to do some more thought around the scoping and what would be appropriate for like a phase one versus a phase two of the work. I also want to be mindful of everything that Chris and Charlie are leading to kind of exit through ARPA. So that timing of all of that will come into effect. But we've estimated between 100 and 150,000 to do it, depending on the depth of the work. And again, the staging of the changes.
Is this project by project accounting, or where do you see there's a gap that we're trying to fill here?
There are, I think, opportunities for us to be able to report to you all kind of in real time the financial state of everything. Because there are just a lot of complexities, there's a lot of nuance, and a lot of opportunity to automate the reporting that we're doing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me a little more about what existing tools we use and how old they are?
So Chris is here. He could probably speak a little bit more, but we do use a tool called MIP.
Okay.
I don't know what it stands for, but we use a tool called MIP. That's our main accounting software.
Okay.
And it has been a good tool. It is flexible enough to help us account for all of the different sources of revenue that we have. We have 83 employees, and everyone is paid through some combination of sources. There probably are not 5 employees who all have the exact same allocation. So we have a tool now that can help us do that. There's an opportunity like electronic payments, right? We still do a lot of things with checks. So how do we think about electronic payments, electronic receipts, and making sure that's properly incorporated into the software tool that we use? So we make regular updates to MIP. It's a good tool. It's easy to search and all of that. And also, this is a good opportunity for us to just think more about flexibility and agility in the reporting.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll just note that part of the RFP process and the exercise is really to get a better understanding of what our current system is and what the limitation of that current system is compared to what our needs are and what our opportunities are to provide more rich and robust, I think, more timely data, both to you all, but to me and the senior leadership team as we, pursue the objectives of SLDC. So that's baked in. I think we will learn quite a bit once we build a scope and start to engage in the RFP process in terms of the shape of what those interventions might be with our financial management system.
Yeah, I would just emphasize that as you had said, Stephanie, ensure that the applications that are reviewed have a lot of experience in development organizations, because I've seen too many ERPs go into organizations where you're trying to fit, square into a round hole, and it fails miserably.
Thank you.
So I think that I heard you say that. It resonates, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Hearing none, and if there's no further questions, is there a motion to approve resolution number 26 SLDC 1092?
So move. Request previous world.
Second.
Hearing no objection, the motion carries. Thank you again, Stephanie, for the 3 presentations. Moving on to agenda item number 10, we have the director's report and open agenda. And with that, I would like to invite Rodney Krim and the SLEDP team to the floor.
So if it's okay, I think that Stephanie was going to get us started and then was going to turn it over to you.
Okay. Apologies.
That's all right.
That's okay, but then my computer logged out. So let me just do this real quick. So back in here.
Square in a circle, huh?
I know. I was trying. I thought I would be more agile, like jumping over and getting my computer, but no, didn't work. Okay, am I in the meeting?
Yeah.
Join? Okay. Join with computer audio, no. Okay, so For my last comment today, I wanted to take some time to introduce Rodney and the whole team from Economic Development Partnership. Thank you all so much for being here today. I know that we have talked at length about the relationship with EDP and the reporting that has been asked for and is part of our agreement with them. So they are here today to give their annual report. I did, though, before they got started, I wanted to just highlight how I've experienced a relationship with EDP in my time here, and in particular over the last several months. So just for starters, I wanted to just again note that EDP's role in this contract is as a provider of business development services within the city, including business attraction, retention services, entrepreneurial support like small business incubators, business finance programs, including the SBA loans, and then export and immigration assistance. This year, as we focus on this relationship and enhancing it, we really want to make sure that we're providing more transparency about what is working and the impact that we're having together. So where does all of this stand? In April of this year, we resumed kind of leadership level conversations with EDP on a monthly basis. So those are scheduled, those are recurring, and they happen the first of each month for about an hour. And we talk through all of the things that are in scope for the contract. So how are we doing with jobs? How are we doing with projects, especially kind of along our shared borders? Where are there opportunities for us to partner? So we've talked through things like tornado recovery. LDC was an important partner in some early tornado recovery financing. We've talked about new markets housing. So the Habitat project that was approved earlier today, EDP has its own new markets allocatee. So how can we leverage a structure like that to promote housing development in the county or in some of these border areas? So their support for the certification program really has been fantastic. They are, again, providing funding to support the MWBE certification. They are also giving my reports about how the program is going to their board. So their board is staying up to date on how that effort is happening. And I've also had a chance to speak with their small business team to see how can they offer small business training and coaching support for certified firms. So that is all going very well. We do have a shared interface through Salesforce that it works very well. The EDP team enters all sorts of information about how the business retention expansion conversations go and load that in there, and we can access it in real time. We noticed that there was a little bit of a glitch in the connection, but that's been refreshed. So that's like real-time data about how those meetings are going, which is great. They'll talk a little bit more about how things are going with the airport. And again, just on a monthly basis, we're constantly in communication about the status of the work. Going forward, I had mentioned about the certification program, mentioned about the new markets program. I also just like kind of exciting thing happened last week, I think, as a result of this partnership, right? They hear about a business that wants to expand in St. Louis, right? They reach out, who should we call? We connected with them right away. Within a week, really from like Monday to Friday, we were able to talk to the business owner who wants to expand, get a sense for where they wanted to go, pull up a map of available LRA parcels, get them that map along with just kind of real estate data out of our data tool, send them the list. They could pick the 6 or 8 they wanted to see, right? And then they came on Friday and we took them on a tour of the sites. And they narrowed down the list and like, okay, they have a vision, right? And that's just in a week from Monday, they say this is happening to Friday, the meeting happens. So those are the kinds of little things that I think we can continue to really get out of this relationship with just continued engagement and connectivity. So I wanted to highlight that. And then let's see, I think everything else going forward, we'll hear more from Rodney. I'm going to pull his slides up here in just a second. But I think from my perspective, what I want to make sure happens is that we get that connectivity and that communication through to you all. The agreement calls for an annual presentation at the board. I will take responsibility for making sure that happens again next year. The agreement also calls for regular written reports. The agreement's interestingly worded because it says quarterly or other cadence. So technically we're in compliance, but I'm going to try for at least twice a year written reports to you all about the status of the project. Again, I'll take the responsibility for making sure that I work with EDP to get that to happen. Okay. But going forward, I'm excited about what lies ahead. I've felt good about the conversations, particularly with Josh, the CFO there. It's been a real good arrangement, and I'm looking forward to hearing their annual report and just hearing about what's ahead for our relationship. So I'm going to pull up your slides, and then you just tell me when you want me to click ahead. Okay.
All right. Good morning, everyone. And we're honored to be here to kind of share some more comments. Thank you, Stephanie. As usual, SLDC has been a great team partner to work with. And so once you get to slide ups, we'll kind of get going. We have a number of my leaders here, and they'll talk specifically about their sections. And again, everything we do, partnership is in our name, and everything we do is in partnership. And so we're very happy to hear Stephanie's comments and just working with SLDC as a partner. So with that, this is just a little quick history. 2013, the partnership was formed, and again, to serve the city and the county and to look at specific things. And so there's kind of a list that's coming up next, which is kind of the scope of services, which is cooperation and management agreement. At that time, we were thinking one way, and then in 2023, upon the 10-year renewal, we tweaked this a little bit because some things didn't apply so much. Like, for example, new market tax credits. In the first 2013, we had the partnership doing all new market tax credits. Well, that didn't work. So from a lot of regulatory reasons. And so it was better for SLDC to keep new market tax credits for the city and for the partnership to do tax credits for kind of the areas around the city. But what that did, in essence, was provide a good regional approach to addressing new market tax credit kind of opportunities. So this is just kind of some of those items that were in that scope that Stephanie just mentioned. If we go to the next slide. So we do all of those things under a number of boards and commissions that we have under our umbrella. Similar to SLDC, there are a number of organizations or entities under SLDC. We have a similar kind of relationship. One thing that I'm really excited about is that on most of these boards and commissions that we have city and county people on that. She mentioned Nicole Hudson. Nicole is Dotson. Nicole is coming on to our St. Louis Venture board. And so what that is that she'll use some of that skill that she's gotten in St. Louis and be able to apply that across the region with some of the entities that we have that are working on small business. You've heard names like Gabriella and Justin. I mean, all of these are people that are doing things both in the city and the county. And so we're happy that they're on our boards. You got Dara, who runs Invest STL. She's our vice chair on our St. Louis Economic Development Partnership Board. You got Dr. Ross, lives in the Central West End. He's also on our board. If you look at our board, you see a lot of folks who are both serving and interested and focused on making things better for the city and the county. So that's really good. So we're excited about all of that, and we will continue to make sure that partnership continues to include city and county, because that's the way we make this all work. So with that, we're going to go to our next person. Oh, and the other thing is the Port Authority is on here. And a lot of people don't know that the Port Authority is under our umbrella, and the Port Authority, provides a lot of neighborhood grants. And you're going to hear about this a little bit later. And a lot of those grantees are companies that are headquartered in the city. but are doing business or operations or have some type of projects in the county. And so those are the type of things that we're trying to make sure we got spread across the region. So with that, we'll go to the next one, and then I'll have each of the directors come up, talk about their particular, the vice presidents come up, talk about their particular area, and kind of how we're impacting both city and county. Okay, so with that, Michelle and Jason.
I'm Jason Archer. Hi.
Hi, Michelle Stuckey, and we co-lead our business development team at the partnership. So we're going to talk to you a little bit about a little today about the services we provide through our team. So with business development, we work on business retention, expansion, and attraction. And I'm going to kind of start on the right side with the RFIs, so the requests for information. This is a process that we participate in. Oftentimes, companies come directly to the Economic Development Agency, but there are also those times where they hire consultants. And those consultants work with companies on putting together these requests for information if the company is looking to expand or possibly move. So with these requests for information, they're typically started at the state level is where they initially send them. The state then disseminates them down to regional entities. And in St. Louis, our regional entity is Greater St. Louis, Inc. Then Greater St. Louis, in turn, sends them down to the Economic Development Agencies more at the local level. So it's typically a search for a site. It can be a request, like we're looking for a 150,000 square foot building with 5 dock doors. We have CoStar, SLDC has CoStar. We work together in identifying sites in both the county and the city that are possibly eligible. And these RFIs can be very lengthy, multiple tabs, Excel spreadsheets. They require a lot of information at times. And this information also requires our utility partners to participate. So the size of the water main that's running in front of a property, all of that type of information gets put in. We coordinate very closely with SLDC on this. Howard is fantastic. Howard Hayes works with our team and the rest of the team at SLDC in really kind of identifying sites and filling out these forms to make sure that they get submitted, because they can have like a 3-day turnaround. There's a very tight turnaround. Sometimes it's 5 days, but if you don't try, you're definitely not going to get anything. So we make sure that we have a member of our team that is focused on coordinating these and working with the city and making sure that we get sites identified. And then I'll turn it over to Jason to talk a little more.
Thank you. I'm Jason. So you might mix us up. That's Michelle. No, I'm Jason. So the other side of the slide, I feel like this BRE ride for you might be a little Quentin Tarantino, because you're going to get the billion of it, not know what I'm talking about, and then I'll bring you back in line. On your slide, you have a picture of BRE stands for business retention and expansion. Across the bottom, we do a monthly visit with different companies, different sites. And so this is what we call community outreach. So we toured Intramotive, which some in here with decades and decades of experience might remember that's the ABB site. So that's this autonomous rail car company that's there now. Millipore Sigma is that second picture. I'm going to jump to the end. We toured the newly remodeled Symphony because arts is part of economic development. So we took the committee and went through that. Now the middle, that little slice picture is an interesting one. Tomorrow, if you have any surgery scheduled over at BJC, they're assembling your surgery pack right now at that middle picture. That's in Hazelwood, Missouri. BJC actually took all of their surgery and component consolidations and put it in one spot. So every night before, they assemble their surgery packs, put it together, truck it, and have it at the hospitals all across their system ready. And we took our BRE committee out there and toured that. So it shows how something on both sides works together. So I've jumped ahead. Now we're going to Quentin Tarantino. Maybe go to the next slide. I can give you the 5-year ride of BRE. So at the beginning of the last pandemic, we may have others, our CEO asked leadership at the partnership to start thinking of our new way to formalize business retention and expansion. So we got together with our partners. SLDC is an immediate partner. We got together with them. The previous slide showed Ameren, Spire, the Missouri Department of Economic Development, Greater St. Louis, Inc., to get together to the World Trade Center. How do we formalize a structure of reaching out to companies that are already here and want to grow, want to stay, or maybe thinking of leaving? You know, Stephanie just mentioned a comment. Oh, I should stop. Mr. Rendon, hey, we had a BRE with him early this year. You don't know this as a board or a committee, but we went with SLDC. We brought Ameren out there, Spire out there. You just did a new markets with it. So the Department of Economic Development, state of Missouri knows about it. They're working on jobs and hiring. So that was an example of something previous in the background that happened coming there. We did one yesterday, actually, in the city with a company, and I don't want to say because there's but-fors involved. That was an example of a company that said to us as a committee, we can either grow here or move to Houston. And we said, what does growing here mean? Well, growing here, we have an older building. We have windows that are 40 years old, HVAC that's 60 years old. Ameren's on our calls with us. SLDC's on our calls with us. The World Trade Center's on our calls with us. And we're all able together to get together as a committee, talk to this company. They talk about their issues, and then we can address them together as a committee. And so this slide, do you want to do a few of these with our journey? You have an actual 5-year report.
Yeah, and within your 5-year report, it shows some of the sort of benchmarks and awards that we've gotten as a committee. And I think it's important to note that Mr. Stephen Davis was also on the committee. He was kind of one of our founding people, so he's been very involved. And so it was formed in 2020. And then in 2021, we decided to kind of launch the outreach team, the smaller group that goes and meets directly with companies. And then in 2022, we also formed an international outreach team. And then in 2023, the International Economic Development Council, IEDC, which is kind of your largest body in economic development, presented us with an award for a project that we did with Candiva. And then in 2024, we got another award from them for Zeiss, a project we did with them. And then one we're really, really proud of is in 2024, East West Gateway acknowledged and presented us with their Olga Award, which is the Outstanding Local Government Achievement. But then in 2025, after doing this for 5 years, we thought it was important to then turn around and do a survey of businesses in St. Louis City and County. And within that presentation, or within the booklet that you've all been provided, it shows some of the outcomes, some of the answers that we received for that survey, which we thought was really important to include and to help us reflect on the work that we've done and then the work that we need to do going forward in researching companies, identifying companies, and our work with companies through our BRE.
Okay, I think that one's, I will say with Michelle and that Olga Award, why we went every Friday since 2020 at 1:30, we have a standing meeting, and that's how we connect with these companies. So Howard Hayes, Caressa Davis, I think is on the screen, participate every Friday afternoon. And we talk about who we seeing, who's coming up, is there any follow-up needed? And East West Gateway recognized that as it's such a long and ongoing. May I have the next slide, please? This next slide, I'd like to highlight how the partnership and SLDC actually work together on a very large and impactful and ongoing project right here in our region, and that is the new Boeing expansion going on at the airport. it had to have our partnership working together. It could not have happened without our partnership together. Why? Well, as Boeing was bidding on the new F-47 strike fighter, they wanted to be able to present a reduced cost package to the government. And to get there, they were going to have to build new buildings and new structures to get that bid in. Well, new buildings and new structures required a land lease. If you drive by the airport now, you'll see the new building. It's up on a piece of ground called the Brownlee site. The Brownlee site is owned by the city of St. Louis. SLDC, you, the board, ushered that through the Board of Aldermen for a 49-year lease. You're like, well, that's a very specific number. Yes, it is. A 50-year or more lease, airport requires FAA approval. So 49-year lease was what the lease was. And that allowed for the next step, which was how do you do tax abatement on it? So you did the work, you, your board, your staff here at SLD, got that through the Board of Aldermen and approved. The buildings exist and are taxed in St. Louis County. So that piece of the deal had to run through St. Louis County Council. And so the St. Louis County Council approved a 50% for 10 years tax abatement on any new real and personal property investment on the Brownlee site, and anything else that required new construction for this new strike fighter, which would be all completely separate because due to security purposes, nothing can crisscross with any existing work that's going on up there. Slide just gives you a little background on what's going on. It's one of our largest regional employers. They currently have 18,000 employees throughout the region. I want you to know they're in a hiring mode. So if you know about this hiring, please get them reach out. They partner through the St. Louis Community College Training Program. That program has evolved. I'll throw this out. It used to be a person had to take their own time and their own money and go through this training program and then get an interview. And that has now flipped, and Boeing will interview you and hire you, and you are an employee as you go through this training program. So please reach out to either Boeing or the St. Louis Community College website and try to take a look at that and see if that's something that any of you or your constituents or your friends or neighbors or family are interested in trying to get employment on. And thank you.
Yeah, the next slide, please.
I could just add real quick on the two things on the BRE front. I got to work with this group for the better part of 5 years, and having the extra capacity and their expertise of their team, just to be there to talk through projects and other issues was invaluable. I would add on the RFI front too, those are very intricate, detailed responses that we have to provide, and Carmen on their team always lended a hand in filling those out. And I know Stephen, you and I talked the other day just about site assembly in general, and the city having the product to market out to these companies who are looking, which has always been a challenge because we just don't have the sites that a lot of these RFIs are looking for. They're looking for 300 acres plus. Well, we got to find our sweet spot as a city between 50 to 100 acres, whatever we can assemble. And to that point, even on the Boeing project, what was not up there is that SLDC actually applied for a $2.5 million site prep grant through the state to basically clear the site, remediate it, and get it ready for the Boeing project too. So that's just another layer of the partnership between the state, SLEDP, the city, and SLDC to get a major project like that done. So there's a lot of moving parts to it. I just want to emphasize the value of the partnership there and working together. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to also discuss new markets. So as Rodney mentioned, you all have your new markets. We're the areas surrounding. So we do feel, right, it's important that our projects help to strengthen the region. And projects we identified that we wanted to recognize to the board. I guess I should also preface that our new markets entity is HRIF, which is the Heartland Regional Investment Fund. And the projects we wanted to highlight are the Urban League, who has their headquarters here in St. Louis. We've done 2 projects through the Urban League, the first being the Ferguson Empowerment Center that was completed several years ago. And then most recently, the Urban League Plaza, which is going to be located, which is in Delwood. Then also we've provided an allocation to Operation Food Search. So Operation Food Search serves both the county, the city, and the region. They're located in Overland. And we provided tax credits, which allowed for an expansion of their freezer facilities and of their facilities, which also then increases their capacity to help those in the region. And then lastly, wanted to mention the Jackie Joyner Kersey Foundation, the Food, Agriculture, Nutrition Innovation Center, which is located in East St. Louis. Their goal is to improve the health and nutrition of youth in East St. Louis and beyond. And they want it to be used as a gathering space for industry stakeholders, nonprofits. They have really big plans for this facility and this site, and highly recommend if you ever get a chance to go tour. It's wonderful to see. Thank you.
Okay, I think I'm next. My name is Tim Nowak. I'm the executive director of the World Trade Center St. Louis. We are the international office for the Economic Development Partnership. And in our work, we always talk about St. Louis being a global city. We truly are a global city. And there's three key ingredients to that: people, trade, and investment. We need talent from around the world choosing St. Louis as a place to live and work and raise a family. We need our companies trading their goods, selling in markets all throughout the world. And we need foreign companies investing in St. Louis. And we have many of those. More than 300 foreign-owned companies that reside here within the region. Among many things, we are that first point of contact, that front door, if you will, to St. Louis for international trade delegations, dignitary visits, representatives from our 16 sister cities all throughout the globe. And so we host more than 20 delegations from all around the world each and every year. We represent and support the mayor's office in many of those delegations. You can see a couple of those up there, including recent ambassador visits from France and Ireland and Kenya and others. Our Mosaic project is a key piece of that people side of things, supporting our companies, the foreign talent that they bring in here, and their families, connecting their families here in the community so that they are here wanting to stay in St. Louis, wanting to really make this their long-term home. We manage the foreign trade zone for St. Louis and connecting companies with the opportunities to better, more effectively, and more affordably trade. One city company, Weissman, is a recent application towards that. And just as we host many of these inbound delegations from time to time, usually one a year, we have the joy of this year of doing two of them. We take outbound delegations. Whether it's event-driven, recently we were in London, obviously promoting the new British Airways direct flight. And later this year, we will take a delegation to Africa. Next slide. So just building on that London piece, I think it's safe to say nothing that we have done in our work over the last 20 years has contributed more to that direct impact of trade and investment than supporting new international direct flights. And this goes back a little more than 10 years ago. The St. Louis Economic Development Partnership and the World Trade Center made an application to the Brookings Institute and their Global Cities Initiative. And what that meant is that we were a part of a number of cities. Philadelphia was in our cohort, Minneapolis, and a couple of others, who for the first time were taking a deep dive in setting up our own metro export and metro foreign direct investment plans. A lot of times what Brookings had identified is that these were state-driven. They were driven at the state level. And their argument was that cities need to take ownership of their own global connections. As a part of that work, we interviewed more than 30 foreign-owned companies based here in St. Louis. How did you end up here? Merger and acquisition, new investment. What have you found? What are the barriers to increasing your growth in St. Louis? And time and again, the number one barrier was the lack of direct international flights. We took that information along with the tremendous leadership at our airport and many business supporters around the region, and we went out and started working with many of these airlines. how can we solve this equation to bring direct flights back to St. Louis? And I'm proud to say that just in June, we celebrated our 4th anniversary, 4 years of Lufthansa flying direct flights to Frankfurt, and they've now increased their flights to 5 a week. And then here just in April, direct flights to London with British Airways, who also have just only 4 months in have announced they're increasing their flights from 4 to 5 per week. You see the logos of some of the St. Louis companies that have benefited and strongly encouraged these direct connections. And there's many, many more. The investment was made through the St. Louis County Port Authority and the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership to really de-risk this on the front end, to prime the pump, if you will. The business community has also supported this, but it's made the difference. And the argument was, I'll stop here, but the argument was early on, questions from the media, you know, when these incentives, this small incentive goes away with Lufthansa, they'll stop flying. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. We're 4+ years in. They couldn't be happier. You see the capacities on the top bullet point there, both airlines flying at greater than 90% both ways. This is connecting our people and it's connecting our businesses to global opportunities.
Good morning, Daryl Scott, Vice President of Business Finance at the partnership. As you can see here, one of the things we did was tornado recovery. We did $240,000 in tornado recovery loans, 48 loans, $5,000 each. A lot of work went into doing these underwriting of these loans. It was gathering a lot of information. It was working with business owners who never had a loan before. So you had to walk them through the process of filling out an application, making sure that their taxes were taken care of, business licenses were current. We even did site visits to make sure businesses were actually operating in those locations they said they were operating. We did $2,585,000 in approved SBA city loans in 2025. And this included loans to companies like Arpolo Studios, which is a landscaping design company located in the Botanical Gardens area. They are scheduled to close in the next couple of months. Another one is Davi Day Child Daycare Center. They're located in Lafayette. This is their second location. It's under construction, and they're scheduled to be funded later on this year. In 2026, we did $3.3 million in approved SBA loans, and that includes Wild Ginger's Florist. It is a florist that specializes in using local farmers to source their plants and flowers, and they specialize in weddings and things like that. Another one is M&H Metal Fabrication. They're located on 22nd Street. They are a sheet metal fabrication company, and they are scheduled to close later on this year. As you can see here, right now you're generating $45,000 in annual SBA fees. Those come directly to you. And in our pipeline right now, there's pending fees of $48,000 that will be generated annually. And most of these, like I said, will be closing in this fiscal year. Next slide, please. Here's some of the business that we helped in with the tornado recovery loan. We would love to have helped more, but the problem is the biggest issue that we faced was a lot of businesses didn't have valid business licenses. They weren't even in business at the time of the tornado. There are a lot of delinquent taxes. And so we try to help them any way we can, and we try to put them in touch with the resources to help them as we could. And like I said, here's some of the business that we helped. And as you see some of these you can recognize Kingside. A couple of them that are not on there now, unfortunately, they didn't make out with Steve's Hot Dogs and the Fountain on Delmar. That's it. Laura, thank you very much for your service.
Yeah, she was really deep into a lot of all of what Daryl just presented. So we really want to thank her for her leadership of the local development corporation. So thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Kristen Lappin. I'm the Vice President over Community Investment, Communications, and Government Relations. So this slide, as you see, says Kinloch Cleanup and Revitalization. And you may be saying, why are you standing here talking to me about Kinloch? Kinloch is one of the oldest incorporated African American, it is the oldest incorporated African American community. And the majority of the land is owned by the city of St. Louis. In red, you can see on the map, those are all the parcels that are owned by the city. And so we have been working in Kinloch for several years, trying to help clean up the illegal dumping. The reason that the city owns that is that in the 80s and 90s, the airport bought out those properties through a voluntary buyout. Those properties were then demolished and the land was left vacant. That allowed people to come in and use Kinloch as their own dumping ground. I want to be clear, it was not residents that did the majority of the dumping. It was companies who decided that it was more cost efficient for them to not go to the landfill and to go to Kinloch and dump their materials. So through the last few years, we have been working with the city of Kinloch. We've had many large scale cleanups. I want to say especially a thanks to Largan who helped put a big project together called Cleanup Build Up. We did that with the Urban League and with RBC and with SLDC's help with the city Parks and Public Works came to help as well. And so we were able to do about $1 million in-kind cleanup, and that was one street. So it is more devastating than you can imagine. And imagine being one of the residents that still has to live there, who's owned their homes there for generations, and don't want to leave. This is something they're proud of, and we want to help them get back to a place where they are comfortable driving to their homes and they don't have to look at garbage. So we do monthly meetings. The airport is part of those meetings. We have different county departments, different city departments that all work together to try and find a solution. What is not a solution is to clean it up and leave. What is a solution is to help them understand how they can stop the illegal dumping from happening. And so we've been working a lot of solutions for that. So we did engage PGAV to do a master plan to try and help on their industrial parcels. You may or may not know that once the FAA buys property, it can never be returned to residential. And so we need to help find a solution that doesn't just leave them still with a bunch of green space without tax space to come help the city. So that's something else we have been working on. Next slide, please. We were able to secure $2 million from the state of Missouri. We were able to take down 29 buildings owned by the city of Kinloch. And you can see some pictures there. They were apartment complex that had been there looking like that for decades. It was unsafe and it was an eyesore. And so we were able to take it down. And now it's a source that can be used for potential tax revenue and jobs for the city. We also, because of that contribution from the state, Boeing, who is a neighbor of Kinloch, said that they would like to give $1 million towards the effort. And so we are still working on that. We've been able to remove, I believe the tire count is about 7,000 tires so far. Tires cost a tremendous amount of money to get rid of, and that's why people dump them there. The other thing that they like to dump there is mattresses. There was a gentleman that had a company. We have taken away over 1,000 mattresses. We probably have 1,000 more. We've just been looking for the funding. So we have identified that funding through the Boeing Corporation, and we are going to be removing those mattresses. So we're very excited about that. Also, the brush has gotten out of control. So we're working on that and trying to find solutions for ongoing maintenance of that. So that's some of the work that my team has been doing. We also have been working, talking to Nicole at NEEC. We've been trying to see how we can work together, and we look forward to continuing to promote and do more with Stephanie on the Certify STL through my team's efforts. So that is that. And then if you don't mind going to the next slide, please. Another thing that we're working on, as you all are aware, the airport is doing a master plan, and the communities around that have some concerns. What's going to happen to us? We rely on this. Is this going to change something? Is this going to impact us? And so this is something that Comptroller Behringer has been very interested in. She's been at the meetings. And so we have another one coming up in August. And we did Ernst & Young, EY, conducted a baseline assessment of the surrounding areas to find out what their plans are. And we are continuing to work with them to figure out how, when this goes into effect, it does not leave these cities with residents moving out, businesses leaving, and things of that nature. So that's another thing that we have been focusing on. So I will turn it over to Josh.
Good morning. My name is Josh Ayers. I'm Chief Financial Officer for the partnership. And it's my pleasure to be able to talk about another shared example of impact and progress through the partnership's work in Wellston. As an intercity ring municipality of the county, growth and development in Wellston benefits both the city and the county. An example of which is the partnership's pursuit of various transformation initiatives supporting the MLK Loop and other ways to connect and strengthen the connection between us at our shared boundary. In addition, throughout 2026, the partnership and the city of Wellston have been able to announce over $100 million in expected private investment over 3 diverse and exciting developments. One will bring over $50 million in investment and almost 180 new homes to the Lulu Heights neighborhood. Another is expected to bring $40 million in investment for what is intended to be a modern manufacturing and logistics facility to the Wellston Industrial Park that could bring up to 200 new jobs to the area. Finally, the Plymouth Industrial Park will be developed into an estimated 40,000 square foot training facility for the Missouri and Kansas Laborers District Council, offering access to at least 400 to 500 unique apprentices and journeymen and women opportunities annually to both county and city residents. This represents a perfect complement to the Met Center, which sits right next door to that proposed development, where we are currently investing over $8 million in federal, state, and local funds to reestablish the Met Center as a key regional workforce development asset, with both training facilities easily accessible to city residents through transportation and proximity to the Wellston Bus and Metrolink station. As Stephanie mentioned, Wellston also offers us a key opportunity for further collaboration in the coming months as partnership staff look to support, participate in, and most importantly, learn from all the fantastic work that SLDC and its staff has put into the affordable housing initiatives and programs that it has developed. We look forward to finding ways to apply those same lessons and programs to the county, including properties that we still own through the LCRA, very similar to the LRA. Next slide, please. Earlier, Rodney mentioned our partnership with the St. Louis County Port Authority, a regional funder of many economic development initiatives, demonstrated by its commitment to distribute over $14 million in its most recent grant cycle. The list shows a significant number of its community investment grants, not only supporting not-for-profit organizations with a broad regional impact, but many of those organizations, as we mentioned, receive grants provide services to the city or are based in the city, although their services also obviously extend into the county. Next slide, please. We did just talk about Certify STL, so I know you all are familiar and appreciate Stephanie's update and acknowledgments earlier in the meeting. SLDC should be very proud of the significant work it has done and investment it has made in the transition of the program and the improvement of the program. We are proud to have been an initial funding partner of the program during its transition as we directly reinvest $150,000 of SLDC's contribution into the partnership right back into that program. As Krista mentioned, we look forward to continuing to find ways to amplify the Certify STL message and platform through our SBDC business consultant on staff and through our 4 incubators throughout the county to continue to strengthen minority and women-owned businesses in the region.
All right, and just to wrap up, we just have a couple more slides, but basically, again, partnership makes all of this work, and so we try to make sure all of our senior leaders as well as our other staff are involved in initiatives across the region. And so here you see a listing of those. Sean, we're all on the Transformation Fund together, as well as, again, with Laura on LDC and all the loans that go out, and just a variety of opportunities here to, again, show regional cooperation. And then when you hear things like Build Back Better and things that are happening in the manufacturing space, this partnership has helped result in bringing people together to accomplish those kind of things. And so then going on to the next one. So then with the comprehensive economic development strategy, we were successful with the city and the county being partners and going after economic development administration funding through working together. The Economic Development Administration now has said that we would like to see a broader area, and that broader area would include the 3 counties that are mentioned here, Franklin County, Jefferson County, and St. Charles County. So we've had some initial discussions on this with those 3 counties. They're very receptive to partnering with us, with St. Louis City and St. Louis County on kind of a regional approach to economic development from a economic development administration perspective. Almost any federal funds that you get have to be signed off with, does that fit within a comprehensive economic development strategy plan? And so we have to, be in that plan to get that money. And then, since around 2017 or so, right around that same time period, once we started the St. Louis City and St. Louis County partnership on the comprehensive economic development strategy, we had this particular strategy, and the way other businesses or organizations within this region could get funding from EDA is they had to reference something in that study. And so with that, there's been millions of dollars that have come to all kind of organizations within our region because they participated in providing their ideas, thoughts, and projects in that original study. So that is a requirement to get funding, and so we want to make sure that continues. The last thing as we wrap up here, as I started with, partnership makes all of this work. We always have like the chief of staff of the mayor's office, county executive's office, the head of SLDC on our board. And that keeps us all very close. And so Casey did a great job and then passed the baton on to Stephen. So again, we still have that mayor's office link as well on the county, similar situation on the county side. Always had that close relationship with SLDC. And so with Stephen Westbrook, generally we like the SLDC appointee to be leading our community development function within our board. And so that's community development and real estate. And so Stephen Westbrook will be moving into that leadership role on our board, just like Otis was in that role, and then prior to him, similar leaders of SLDC. So that's the way we try to make all of this work, by keeping everybody very close. I hope you heard that in all of the discussions. That's what really makes all of this work. So with that, that concludes our discussion.
Thank you, Rodney, and thank you to the SLEDP team for coming down here and covering the breadth of what you do. Obviously, I've personally appreciated the support over the years. I know SLDC does, and obviously there's lots of opportunity for partnership going forward. So really appreciate it. Do we have any questions from the board? Comments?
Well, I guess I'll start because I say it every year. This is our largest expenditure. That's flexible dollars, up to what, $850,000 a year. And every year we get the same presentation about the same work that's happening, but it's never directly related to St. Louis City. This report looks great, very professional, but we want to see what's happening specifically in St. Louis City so we can understand the return on our investment. You said everything's about partnership, Rodney, and we love all the work that you guys are doing, but we're paying you. So there's a responsibility on your part to make sure we understand what we're paying for and what's being delivered to our city. And Stephanie's mentioned about doing more reporting and getting more information. That's what we want to see. I mean, this was a great presentation, very professional, but we didn't get into the details about the outputs and the outcomes of our investment in your organization and how it impacts our city. And that's all I've been asking for a long time. Stephen's new to this role. He's going to have to make some decisions on whether or not, this is the right investment and how this partnership can really work together going forward. I'm glad Stephanie's involved now. It sounds like there's more consistent meetings and there's more discussion and there's some cross-county city things going on. But we really, as a board, having the fiduciary duty, need to know more about where this money is going, whether it's staffing, timesheets, go down the whole list. I do it for all of my federal grants. We should be getting some of that more detailed information. So that's what I would ask for you today.
Yes.
Thank you. I thank you for this report. I just wanted to offer some follow-up conversations, hopefully, and help and support. One, the list of the businesses that were able to be helped after the tornado. There's work that's being done right now that I'm hoping that maybe there might be an opportunity to revisit that. Looking at where the businesses were, they just did not align with a lot of the cries for help that I get, not just in the 10th ward, but the businesses even further north in the tornado impacted area. So can we please connect after to see if there's additional opportunity to help some of those businesses? Steve's Hot Dogs, I hated to hear about that in Fountain. They're not in the 10th ward, but they're right across the street. And we visited and worked with them a lot and worked, still continue to work with Danny and all the help, the things that she does, not just for her own businesses, but other businesses still in that area, even though they're not still there. So again, I want to offer my help and support for you. And then, ma'am, the work that you've done in Kinlock, I can't not be up here because of my family's deep roots in Kinlock, and not just one, say thank you, right? But two, again, offer how I can help, knowing the history of that and how the city owns that property. The ways that we don't hold people accountable in the city clearly reach over into that as well. So there's work that we need to be doing on our side. And I just want to offer, again, my support and my position to be able to help you. First, say thank you because it's come a long way. Again, I grew up on porches in Kinlock, sometimes visiting family members. So, and the pride that you talk about is real. So let me know how I can help you out and continue to help support you all in the efforts. And Stephanie, thank you for building this up and this reporting. Let me know how I can support you as well.
I have a comment to say about Kinlock also, because that was the first city that my parents came to from Arkansas, was Kinlock. I wasn't born then, but I also grew up as going to church in Kinlock, and I see the dump, and it's horrible. My question is, what are you all doing to hold those that are doing the dumping accountable? Is there anything done to that?
So we did help find money for a full-time police officer to be there. We have been working with the city to get on the docket so that we can actually prosecute the people. For whatever reason, that it just wasn't synced up. And so now we finally have a way to prosecute the people. The officer, I will just tell you a quick story. I know we're running along, but he actually goes through the trash. He finds envelopes of people.
Wow.
He drives to their house and he knocks on their door and he makes them come back and pick the trash up.
Wow.
And he chased down a group the other day, took 3 grown men to throw limbs, giant trees out of their car onto the road, and then they sped away. And he worked with the prosecutor's office to weigh the trees so that he could prosecute them on a higher level. We also went after the gentleman that owned the mattress pile. Unfortunately, he was found unable to stand trial because he was incompetent, and so that was a dead end. So that's why it left us to clean up the mattresses. And so, unfortunately, land dumps, they do not like mattresses, and Boeing wants also us to do it in a sustainable way, which we agree with. And so we found a way to help recycle some of those mattresses. But yes, we absolutely agree that people have to be held accountable. It's never going to stop until they are.
Thank you.
And I would just briefly add that that's an example of the state having, kind of confidence that we, pulling together a team, could do something there. That Boeing having confidence that we as a team could do something there. And so those are dollars that the city didn't have to pay for to clean up Kinloch. By attracting those outside dollars, that resulted in cleaning up Kinloch. So when you look at, in essence, where does the $1 million go that the partner that SLDC provides? It provides opportunity for us to go get even larger dollars that are way beyond the $1 million to impact these particular areas.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments before we move on? Hearing none, I believe we have Stephen Westbrook's up next for the Executive Director report.
Can I address something, correction on the agenda? And no disrespect to anybody, but I believe in giving respect with respect to due, that he be addressed as either the president or CEO instead of a director, not the director.
President, CEO, excuse me. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll be relatively brief here. I know we are a little over, so thank you for spending a little extra time with us today. Before I provide a little bit of a broader strategic update, I want to briefly note 2 really exciting and important developments that we're all well aware of that materially expand the resources available for economic development in the city of St. Louis. So first, on Monday, some of us were present when Mayor Spencer signed the Rams settlement legislation into law, which allocates $225 million across tornado recovery, North St. Louis redevelopment, citywide infrastructure, and downtown revitalization. So the largest economic development components of that bill include $31 million for implementation of North St. Louis neighborhood plans, and then $55 million for downtown revitalization. As it relates specifically to SLDC, the bill is explicit in stating that SLDC will shape how the North St. Louis neighborhood plan funding is used. Through the law, SLDC and PDA are directed to make recommendations to CDA, and CDA can then contract with SLDC to administer specific to be determined projects. So the eligible uses and some of the projects that you can expect to see are pretty broad, including things like land assembly and site preparation, which we've talked quite a bit about, gap financing, home ownership, support small business funding, neighborhood infrastructure, and other priorities that are drawn from the adopted neighborhood plans that are being legally adopted by the city. I think an important point about this legislation and the legislation I'm going to talk about next is that the legislation appropriates the money and establishes the purposes, but it doesn't, in fact, itself deploy the money, that those rails to get the capital into community still have to be built. And that's going to be an effort with SLDC, CDA planning, the recovery office, and other partners to actually deploy those funds. So our immediate role is to help to start to translate the ordinance and the intent of the ordinance into investable, executable projects. And that's work that our team has already been engaged in sort of preparation for developing some of the aspects of the legislation. The other piece of legislation that was signed into law this month by Governor Kehoe is House Bill 3231, which reauthorizes and expands Modessa. The original intent of that bill was to support the development of Ballpark Village. That bill also creates the new Missouri Innovation Zone framework, and that law becomes effective in August 28th of this year. The Innovation Zone portion is particularly significant for downtown St. Louis, and that allows the city, via the mayor's office, to define one innovation district and then submit a master plan to the Missouri Department of Economic Development. And once that plan is certified, projects in the innovation zone can then access incentives centered on retaining and attracting employers. There's an office to residential conversion credit, which we've all heard quite a bit about. There's a Missouri Opportunity Zone tax deferral incentive, angel investment incentives, and then a more standardized framework for this specific zone for local TIF and property tax abatement, a standardized framework that may be outside of the way we traditionally assess and operationalize those particular incentives. But here again, the law here is just the beginning. It's not the actual deployment of capital. There's another role for SLDC, and we will be significant in supporting the mayor's office with defining the zone boundaries and creating the master plan, helping to build the project pipeline, and then coordinating with the mayor's office and the State Department of Economic Development to operationalize that law. So in both cases, we now have significant and meaningful economic development tools. So for SLDC, in terms of what I'm thinking about as being next is continuing to build out the institutional infrastructure here at SLDC to ensure that we can deploy these opportunities exceptionally well. So a couple of months ago, when I presented our strategic priorities, one of them, and Stephanie alluded to it earlier, was building the operating backbone of SLDC. And given the opportunities that I highlighted, as well as some other significant opportunities that are underway, my immediate strategic priority for the coming 2 months is really centered on strengthening our operating backbone through completing SLDC's senior leadership team. So in the coming months, we'll be adding 2 important leadership positions. The first is an executive vice president of development, who will provide executive leadership in rebuilding our development pipeline and focus significantly improving the experience that developers have in doing business in the city of St. Louis. And then the second one is a vice president of place-based initiatives, which reflects the idea that one of, I believe, our city's competitive advantages is that with our historic architecture and design, that we really have an opportunity to double and triple down on our neighborhoods and really create place that would rival anywhere, I think, across the globe. So the vice president of place-based initiatives will lead the neighborhood managers, who will be really intricately involved in deploying what's being conceived in the neighborhood plans that were adopted, but will also help coordinate investments, partnerships, and implementation within SLDC's priority geographies, which are being determined as we continue to evolve our strategic focus. So I really view these roles as investments in the organization's ability to be strategic and in the organization's ability to execute at a really high level. As this leadership team comes together, I think that you can expect to see clear ownership of our strategic priorities, faster and more coordinated decision-making, stronger collaboration across SLDC's various departments, and ultimately a more consistent experience for developers and businesses and neighborhoods and all of SLDC's and the city stakeholders. Over time, I think you'll see that I'll have the opportunity to focus on expanding the capacity of SLDC through continued strategic partnerships, coordinating capital, engaging more with this board, and positioning SLDC for the vast opportunities that lie ahead. So I'm excited about the direction that we're headed. I'm grateful for your continued partnership, And I think that together we can continue to build an organization that's capable of delivering the kind of economic development that our city deserves. So thank you.
Mr. Westbrook, do you want to say anything about Board Bill 41?
Is that the CDC legislation? That's another exciting piece of legislation that is really important. So Alderwoman Sonier led the creation of that bill that really helps to cement CDC's, community development corporations, as an integral and important part of our neighborhood infrastructure. And so again, when you think about, having money is one thing, being able to effectively deploy capital where it needs to go and deploy investment where it needs to go in a strategic way is a huge other part of the equation. And I spoke to it a little bit when I think about building out the capacity of SLDC to do that effectively, so we don't have these resources that just sit for years unspent. We're able to build the rails to really get those investments where they need to go. This bill that Alderwoman Sonier crafted and led does the same thing in terms of building out an important part of the infrastructure and building the rails so that we can continue to drive investment into our community development corporations, who are really boots on the ground, leading a lot of the important work in creating place and actually doing more development. I think that's something that you'll hear me say over and over again. It's not breaking news. We need to be doing more development. So this bill goes, in my opinion, a long way in helping us to continue to build out that infrastructure, so we have the rails and the pipeline to deploy those investments in really strategic ways. So good call out there. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for the thorough update, President Westbrooks. Certainly appreciate it. And yes, lots of exciting legislation happening this week. And, these tools are going to accelerate economic development for the city. And so there's a lot of opportunity coming up, and I look forward to seeing all that come together. I don't think we have anything for executive session today. So with that, our next regular board meeting is scheduled for Thursday, August 20th, 2026. We do. You have something for open agenda?
Just a question. I know there may be some legal matters, but I just want to check in on head count.
Can't hear you, I'm sorry.
I wanted to just see if there was an update or a conversation that could be had about head count and the railway project, the rail project in Spruce, whatever could be shared as far as an update there.
I'm not sure who the best person to answer that.
Yeah, we may have to follow up specifically offline. I think the SLDC staff who would be best positioned to maybe provide some details aren't with us right now, if that's okay. Okay.
Is that okay? Any other questions for the good of the cause? Okay. With that, like I said, our next regular board meeting is scheduled for Thursday, August 20th, 2026. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Previous roll. We do a roll call vote.
There's no need for a roll call.
Oh, we're done. Okay, never mind.
Thank you.
It's an obvious.
It is easy.